They give the Blue Jays a chance to win every single night they take the field.
Who do you think should be the Toronto Blue Jays opening day starter?
I'm going to say that it should be Happ.
It is Happ putting on a show.
He's put up really strong numbers.
Nice outing for Happ.
Quietly just goes about his business.
I want to help the Blue Jays win like I have for the last few years.
Heading into the season, he's really going in at full strength. His spring has gone according to plan.
Well, wherever you are, no matter how cold it may be where you are, we hope these pictures cheer you up a little bit. Another beautiful day here in Florida, and a lot of regulars are in the lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays this afternoon as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates with opening day not that far away. Hi again, everybody. Dan Shulman and Buck Martinez. Yes, we will see Travis. We will see Donaldson. We will see a lot of the regulars today, including a guy who, Buck, just might be the opening day starter for the Blue Jays, Happ.
Happ has been terrific for the Blue Jays. This is his second stint with the ball club. He signed a 3-year contract, and this is his final year of that 3-year contract. Happ is as consistent as any Blue Jays starter, and he has the ability to throw strikes to both sides of the plate, and he is really, in my mind, the backbone of this starting staff. He's made 57 starts in his last 2 seasons, and he is really throwing the ball well right now.
With more on the big lefty down to the field, here's Arash Madani.
Well, Dan, for much of this spring, Happ primarily has been working on tinkering with his stuff, but he's also been toying with a 2-seamer to the glove side that he actually unveiled for the first time in a game last Monday against Boston. He was pleased with how it went then. But Happ said it's going to take some time for the pitch to evolve, what counts he wants to use it in, and ultimately how well he can execute it, because it is a dangerous pitch. Now, overall for this season, Happ said, if I can duplicate how I did in the second half of last season, then I'll be in a real good spot for 2018.
And it would put the Blue Jays in a really good spot for 2018 as well. Russell Martin is in the lineup as well for the Blue Jays today. So is Curtis Granderson. A lot of familiar faces. Sportsnet's final telecast from Dunedin this year. It's the Blue Jays and the Pirates when we come back to Dunedin Stadium.
This program brought to you by Scott's Lawn Response 911, a 3-in-1 solution that rescues your lawn.
Well, about as nice a day as you could ever find here. Welcome back to Dunedin, Florida, the spring training home for the Blue Jays ever since their inception back in 1977. This is Dunedin Stadium, and we've got the Blue Jays taking on the visiting Pittsburgh Pirates today. It's a split squad Pirate lineup. A lot of the regulars for Pittsburgh are back in Bradenton taking on the Red Sox, but there are some familiar names, including one of their star players, Starling Marte, who has had a very good spring. He's batting third in center field, and a guy who finished third in National League Rookie of the Year balloting a year ago, a guy with a lot of power, their first baseman, Josh Bell.
This lineup's going to be a little bit better than people anticipate, I believe, and the starting pitcher.
Brought to you by Scott's Turf Builder Green Max Lawn Food. Get a deep green lawn in just 3 days.
Jay Happ will make the start. This will be his 5th start of the spring. Jay's now 35 years old. We mentioned he is in his final year of his 3-year contract, and his spring numbers don't really mean much. And you heard Arash Madani talk about his goal this year to throw that 2-seam glove side fastball. That's inside to the right-handed hitters, and as Arash mentioned, that's a dangerous pitch because if you miss out over the plate, it could cost you a home run.
Underway here in Dunedin with a pitch outside, ball 1 to the second baseman today for the Pirates, Christopher Bostic, who the Blue Jays have seen on a couple of occasions already this spring. Solid numbers at AAA last year.
Jay's done a terrific job with the Blue Jays. As a Blue Jays, 49-35 for his career. His last 2 seasons, he's put together a 30-15 record, including 20-6 2 years ago.
And remember, of course, before he re-signed with the Blue Jays prior to 2016, he finished off 2015 with the Pirates. He went from Toronto to Seattle, Seattle to Pittsburgh, and was brilliant down the stretch in 2015, which was a playoff year for the Pirates. But then they couldn't retain him in the offseason, and aren't the Blue Jays glad that he wound up signing a 3-year deal with Toronto?
Made 11 starts there with Pittsburgh, went 7-2. And Jay, he has said it time and time again, the reason he re-signed with the Blue Jays, his relationship with the pitching coach, Pete Walker. Pete had his back the first time he was with the Blue Jays, and he wanted to re-sign here.
3-1 line towards center field, and on comes a sliding Kevin Pillar. Segues nicely, Buck, into the defense today for the Blue Jays.
Well, it sure does. Kevin Pillar anchors that outfield in center field. In the outfield, Granderson, Pillar, and Jonathan Davis in the outfield. And Devin Travis, boy, he's had a good spring, and he really had an extra jump in his step. He's healthy. He's encouraged by the way his knee feels, and it's a big spring for him. But he has had no issues. He has played 6 and 7 innings at a start and gotten 4 at bats more often than not in each of those games he has started. This is his 10th game of the spring.
1 down, and here's Corey Dickerson, the left fielder today for the Pirates, and a very familiar name to Blue Jays fans from his time in Tampa Bay. Slices a ball into the left field corner. It's going to get to the fence before Granderson can get to it, so that'll be a double for Dickerson.
Well, the Pirate fans don't really know what they have in Corey Dickerson, but he can hit. We saw that when he played with Tampa Bay, and he's told me he was looking for a fastball against Jay Happ, and he gets it and takes it the other way. Corey Dickerson started his career with the Colorado Rockies. He had some injuries late in the career, and in 16, he had back problems that plagued him all year long, but he is healthy and really excited about the opportunity he's gotten here with the Pirates.
Yeah. Pittsburgh got rid of some notable players, traded away Andrew McCutchen and Garrett Cole. More on that later. But Tampa Bay purged even more than Pittsburgh did, and they were looking to save some money, so they DFA'd Dickerson and then wound up making a trade with the Pirates. Here's Starling Marte. And Marte, of course, suspended last year, an 80-game suspension for PED use. That happened early in the year. Came back, and his numbers actually were better after he came back than they were before. Assuming all that is behind him and he can still be the player that he was, this is a terrific player.
Having a good spring, too, hitting 400 on the spring.
Play on at second, but back in Dickerson. Marte, he's just one of these guys. He looks like a ball player out there. He's got range, he's got speed, he's got some power, plays the game with a lot of confidence. And of course, this is the first year in forever where Andrew McCutchen is not a part of the Pirates outfield. It was a painful offseason for Pirates fans, with McCutchen being dealt to the Giants, Garrett Cole being dealt to Houston. In the air to center, Pillar is there, 2 down, and no chance to advance for Dickerson.
Yeah, Marte was penciled in to start in center field, then the suspension hit, and he missed those first 80 games, and McCutchen went back to center field. But the Pirates are really thrown kind of off balance right out of the chute in spring training because of that Marte suspension.
Now Josh Bell. Talked about him a little bit when we showed you the lineup. Switch hitter, first baseman, 26 home runs last year.
Really a good-looking young hitter. He's just 25 years old, and as Dan mentioned, had a terrific rookie season. He got up for 45 games in 2016. He's a switch hitter, a natural right-handed hitter who has really done a great job of developing as a switch hitter. I spoke to him about that this morning, and I said, what's your natural side? He said, naturally a right-handed hitter, and I started switch hitting when I was 5. And his father, a very astute move, said, you know what, you're going to hit on the opposite side every other at bat. So he's been switch hitting for a long time.
And that's a dad who's locked in early, making his kids switch hit when he's 5. But it's paid off for him.
Well, it sure has. This is his 3rd season playing at first base. And he's a real interesting guy. He's going to develop a lot more power as he grows and learns more about hitting for power.
Runner at second, 2 down, and a ball and 2 strikes to count on Bell. And strike 3 call. A good inning for Jay Happ. Here in inning number 1 of his 5th start of the spring. Blue Jays coming up when we come back. Yesterday, and a lot of regulars in the lineup for the Blue Jays today. It'll look a lot like the lineup may look when a lefty is on the mound for the opposing team during the regular season. You can see Devin Travis up at the top of the lineup. Kevin Pillar may not hit 5. Remember, no Randall Grichuk. He could slot into that 5 spot. Pillar maybe a little bit lower, but a huge spring for Pillar thus far, hitting 500. And Curtis Granderson, who's been hitting near the top of the lineup against righties, down in the 8th spot today against a lefty, and he too is having a great spring.
Well, he sure is. They're going to face the left-hander, 25-year-old Stephen Brault, who was the minor league pitcher of the year last season for the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went 10-5 in the minor leagues with a 194 earned run average. And for the Pirates, he got into 11 games, made 4 starts in Pittsburgh, and finished up the season 1-0.
So here's Devin Travis to lead it off in the bottom of the 1st in a scoreless game. And as you mentioned, Buck, one of the best bits of news in the spring for the Blue Jays is that Devin Travis feels great, and he understands the concern about him. He understands the acquisitions of other infielders, his insurance policies, if you will, and he knows they're not going to let him play 7 days a week. But boy, if he could get in there, he'd like to play 162, but if he can get in there 130, 135 times for the Blue Jays this year, that's a huge boost for them.
I think the key for Devin Travis is to make sure he doesn't overdo it right out of the gate. Make sure that, you know, as good as he feels, I know he wants to play every single day, but I think the Blue Jays need to make sure that he plays maybe 4 games a week right out of the chute, gets feet under him. He had a terrific May last year. He hit .364 in the month of May with 16 doubles. His OPS for that month was 1.019. And he was really the reason the Blue Jays bounced back after a terrible April and turned things around in May.
Up the middle, past Brault. Nice play out at second by Bostic, and on a hop to first, in and out of the glove of Bell, so safe at first is Travis. Oh, did he get him? No, he did not. Travis was heading back. Travis was heading back to the dugout. He thought he was out. The umpire signaled safe, but Tim Leeper had to say, Devin, come on back here.
Yeah, terrific play by Bostic, the second baseman. He makes the play from the shortstop side of second, but Bell over at first can't dig out the low throw. It goes off his glove, and Travis saw the fact that the ball got there ahead of time, but Bell can't dig it out. So it's an infield hit for Devin Travis.
To lead off the bottom of the first, that'll bring up Russell Martin. And again, this lineup may be indicative of the kind of lineup the Blue Jays may have out there against a lefty. Granderson down in the lineup. Travis 1, maybe Martin 2. I mean, Martin can hit the ball the other way, as we know. And one of the big questions is in the regular season, and again, it could be different against righties and lefties, but do you think Josh Donaldson hits second, or do you think Josh Donaldson hits third for the Blue Jays?
Well, you know, it's so much is predicated by who hits first and second, but Donaldson would like to hit second. He's had his most productive seasons hitting second, but the lineup construction when he was the MVP in 15 was totally different. He had Edwin Encarnacion behind him, and Bautista was still hitting home runs, and I think Josh would like to hit second, but I think he might be better suited for John Gibbons' lineup to hit third with some combination of Travis and Granderson hitting first and second.
Way outside again.
Well, you see the infield set up to play Martin to pull, and I think when Russell hits the ball from center to right, that's when he's most productive, and there's a big gaping hole for him on the right side of the infield here. Good chance for the Blue Jays to go first and third with nobody out.
Going the other way and with some authority. This is taking Osuna back to the wall where he'll make the catch, and Travis is going to tag on the play and be thrown out at second.
Well, I don't mind that at all. Devin Travis read the play, and Osuna kind of circled the ball and got twisted around. I think that's what made Devin think about advancing to second. But you can see Brault appreciates the throw from right field of Jose Osuna. But I think it was all about the way he went after this ball. Watch how he gets twisted around here and then goes back over his right shoulder, kind of off balance. And I think that's what told Travis, go ahead and take a shot. And I don't mind it at all in the first inning. Try to get yourself in scoring position. For me, that's a high percentage gamble, and unfortunately, he was thrown out.
9-6 on the putouts, 2 down to the bases empty, and here's Donaldson. He was 4 for 14 on the spring. Of course, missed a little time with a shoulder situation, missed a little time with what eventually became known as the cramp in his calf. Nothing more serious than that. Donaldson's always said he doesn't think he needs a ton of at-bats to get ready for the regular season. Big swing and a miss, 1-1.
Nobody understands his swing better than Josh Donaldson. He really knows what it takes for himself to get ready. He said, my focus isn't as keen during spring training games as it is during the regular season, and rightly so. But last year, the calf injury early on really slowed his progress down early.
High in the air to shallow right center field, and as soon as there to make the play, Donaldson and the Blue Jays are retired. End of 1 here in Dunedin. No score.
Later today or tomorrow, the Blue Jays will officially announce their opening day starter for 2018, and it appears J.A. Happ will get the ball against the Yankees at the end of the month. Now, if it is Happ, that would give him some real personal satisfaction. Overall, Happ says he's more comfortable in his own skin at this stage of his career, some 10 years in. He said, I'm in a better spot. I know where I stand and what the organization thinks of me, and it's not necessarily me having to convince anybody of who and what I am. Happ says what has given him comfort and success of late is that he can just be himself. He said being here in Toronto 3 years has helped his mentality out there. And Happ, Dan, said it's the evolution of learning who I am as a pitcher, too.
Amazing that a guy with as much of a track record, 35 years of age, still learning about himself, but a good lesson for all professional ball players. As Pete Walker looks on, you talked about the relationship, Buck, the two have. And J. Happ maybe a little underappreciated sometimes because he's so quiet, he's so low maintenance. Little chopper to the first base side of the mound. Happ off the mound first in time to get Jose Osuna. Marcus Stroman, in all likelihood, had he been healthy all spring, would have been the opening day starter. But between, you know, little hints here and there, and the math is at play, of course, how many days until opening day, our guess is that J. Happ is the opening day starter and that the Blue Jays will roll out the five in this order to start the season.
Yeah, when you really think about it, Happ's lined up to make the opening day start. Then Aaron Sanchez, Marco Estrada. I believe Marcus Stroman is going to be fine to make that final appearance in the Yankees series on Sunday. And then Jaime Garcia will open up against the White Sox, the second series of the season. But boy, oh boy, if that five-man rotation can stay intact, in my mind, the Blue Jays can compete with anybody.
J. Happ, a 20-game winner 2 years ago, missed about 6-7 weeks with an elbow problem last year, but I think the Blue Jays are very confident that he is ready to deliver a terrific year, more like 2016 or late in 2017 when he finished the season so well. Here's Elias Diaz, a backup catcher for the Pirates. Francisco Cervelli is the #1 guy. Perfectly positioned is Travis. You know, Aaron Sanchez feels not good. He feels great this spring, which obviously is huge news. Marco Estrada feels really good. Marcus Stroman returned yesterday and announced himself ready to start the 4th game of the season in his post-game comments. And you know what? That Jaime Garcia pickup may turn out to be a very important one for the Blue Jays this
When
year.
Jaime Garcia is healthy and on the mound, he has no-hit stuff every time he goes to the mound. Russell caught him the other day against the Phillies, and Martin said everything he throws moves, not only the fastball, but the cutter moves, the fastball moves, sinker's great, changeup moves. Everything he throws is difficult to hit and even more difficult to catch for Martin, but that's a great pickup.
It was 2 years ago where the opening season starting five started just about every game for the Blue Jays. I think 159 out of 162 or something like that. Now that may be asking a little bit too much, but last year it was almost the opposite extreme because Sanchez had so many issues and Happ missed some time. And you're right. If you can send your 5 guys out there time after time, you get a leg up on the competition.
Last year, the Blue Jays used 14 starters. The league average in the American League is 11.6 starters per team, and it just goes to show you got to have depth. And I think that's one concern for the Blue Jays right now, is the depth beyond the 5-man. Of course, they have Biagini, who's worked as a starter all spring long, but you know, but they're a little thin beyond that.
2-1 to Max Moroff as he hooks a ball just foul down the line.
You know, you go back and look at the last 4 opening day starters for the Blue Jays. Marco Estrada last year, then Stroman, Drew Hutchison, and R.A. Dickey. So there hasn't been a real consistency in that starting opening day starter, and I think J. Happ is going to get his first opportunity to open up the season.
2-2 on the way. And just down and in, full count. I mean, they could have gone a number of different directions, but do you like the choice of Happ?
Sure.
If that is indeed the case.
I do, and everybody's going to say, whoa, those big bats in the Yankees, you know, you got the 2 big power hitters, they're right-handed hitters, but I think J. Happ handles those right-handers very well.
Well, he's going to pitch somewhere in that series, so
yeah.
We'll see him.
Yeah, you know, why not give him an opportunity to open up the season? I think the consistency that he has shown in these last 2 years, we mentioned his 30-15 record. He is underappreciated. There's no doubt about it. When you look at his opponent's batting average for the last 2 seasons, it's 241, while the league average is 256. So he's out pitching the league.
Full count pitch on the way. And it's low ball 4, a 2-out walk to Morov. Shaking his head a little unhappy that he issued that free pass. If you look at the all-time win list among left-handed pitchers for the Blue Jays, no surprise to those of us who are old enough to remember the guy at the top of the list, that Jimmy Key's #1. But there's Jay Happ, probably ready pretty soon to move into the 3rd spot.
Yeah, David Wells, Ricky Romero, Jay Happ, and of course our pal, the late John Cerruti, with 46 career wins.
Batter for the Pirates is their shortstop today, one of their minor leaguers, Stephen Alames, who hit .265 in A-ball last year. Runner goes. Chopper towards short. Charged by Diaz, and on the money with the throw to get him and end the inning. No runs, no hits. He'll walk and a man left to the bottom of the 2nd. No score.
Away from Honda opening day. The Blue Jays and the Yankees. It is a 3:30 first pitch at the Rogers Center. It'll be an early start time on your holiday weekend. BlueJays.com for tickets for the Blue Jays and the Yankees. Honda opening day. Devin Travis asked me earlier today, is it still cold up there? Is there still snow up there? I said, yeah, it is. He said, you know what? I just want to have a snowball fight. So maybe in late March, Devin can, guys.
Well, that's a Florida guy speaking,
That's
you know, because most of the people in Toronto, they're tired of snow. They don't want to see any more snow.
right.
But when you grow up in Florida, you'd like to have a snowball fight for once.
We looked at the weather forecast both for Montreal and for Toronto, with the Blue Jays going to Montreal for a couple of games next week. And as Justin Smoak gets jammed and hits a one-hopper out to 2nd for the first out. Looks like it'll be pretty chilly in Montreal, temperature about 2-3 Celsius. And then for opening day in Toronto, looked like about 6-7 Celsius. The good news is in both cities, there's a roof on the building, so that'll play out nicely. The Pirates, for example, are opening up in Detroit. Obviously, cold weather city.
Good luck with that one.
That's a 4-game series, which to me feels like a doubleheader on Saturday and a makeup game for a snow out in August sometime when they have a common off day. But you talked about it yesterday. They've changed the schedule a little bit. It's starting 3 days earlier on a Thursday instead of a Sunday, and that's the Players Association and collective bargaining asking for more rest during the regular season, more off days. Just trying to conserve their energy and keep everybody healthy.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. And you talk to players, and they said, you know what, it's all about being in the optimum rest. You want to be top of your game when you play. So they've added a couple of more travel days, a couple of more off days. That's why the season is starting on March 29th.
Kevin Pillar having himself a terrific spring. Had 3 hits down in Sarasota yesterday. He's hitting .500 on the spring. Puts this one down the right field line and sliding, almost overrunning it, is Osuna, but he'll make the catch in foul territory for the 2nd out.
Osuna's had a couple of interesting routes on fly balls here. On a Russell Martin fly ball, he ended up getting double play, and here he almost overruns this ball, and you can see he has to slide and break his momentum, but he's able to hang in there and make the catch.
So 2 down here in the bottom of the second in a scoreless game, and the DH Kendrys Morales will come up now. Smoak hitting 4th today, Morales hitting 6th. Do you think the Blue Jays against lefties or righties want to have somebody in between those 2 guys?
I do, and I'll tell you why. I think because neither one of them run very well, you've got to split them up and make sure they're not back-to-back in the order, because you could have some very, very quick innings. Morales grounded into 22 double plays last year, and I think ideally I'd like to see Randall Grichuk between Smoak and Morales. I think it would give you the best opportunity, and they all have, of course, extra base power. But Grichuk can run, and I think if you look at the potential lineup with Granderson top of the order, then Travis, Donaldson, Smoak, and there's Grichuk in that 5th spot, which is a terrific RBI spot when you look at the guys in front of him. And I think Grichuk's going to have a breakout season, much like Josh Donaldson in his first year coming to Rogers Center. You don't have to pull the ball to hit it out of the ballpark. He's in a much more hitter-friendly atmosphere than he was in St. Louis. But then you got Morales down in the order. Pilar has traditionally done his best work batting in the 8th spot in the lineup.
Chopper towards 3rd, and that is a foul ball. I talked to Grichuk this morning, and a couple of news items on him. He took some swings in the cage today, and that's good news. He's been battling this rib cage or oblique issue. If all goes well, he'll take BP tomorrow, so he's starting to get closer. Still feels good about playing on opening day. And I asked him about moving into the American League East, some good hitters ballparks in that division, and he said he actually hit his first big league home run at Rogers Center off Mark Burley back in 2014.
The same as Josh Donaldson, who hit his first big league home run at Rogers Center. So hopefully they'll both follow that same pattern where Grichuk really explodes. He had 22 home runs last year for the Cardinals. Had a 24 home run season in 16. So he's an interesting player with a lot of upside in my mind.
2-2 and a swing and a miss. Ball in on his hands as Brault strikes him out. And we're through 2 and Dunedin. No score in this one.
Head to Montreal next Sunday night, and will play the Cardinals at Olympic Stadium on March 26th and March 27th. The Blue Jays and the Cardinals at the Big O. Just to wrap the Grichuk story, guys, John Gibbons said this was a big day for him because they want him to face live BP tomorrow if he can be ready for the season. So it'll be intriguing if timing will be on his side.
All right, Rash, thank you. And bit by bit, Smoak had a little wrist thing, and Donaldson the calf, Stroman the shoulder, but bit by bit the key players are getting healthier, and having Grichuk ready for opening day would be a major boost for the Blue Jays. They do have a guy who appears to be on the outside looking in if Britchick isn't ready. Teoscar Hernandez has had a great spring. Threw out a guy down in Sarasota. John Gibbons just loves Hernandez. Loves what he saw in September. Loves what he sees this spring, but there may not be room for him right now. How about that? That's Stephen Brault, the pitcher, who is hitting here in this game. National League teams have the option of doing whatever they want, and if they want to prepare their pitchers to hit during the season, they don't have to use a DH, so the pitcher comes up, gets himself a base hit.
Yeah, he sure does, and he just stays on this pitch, a fastball away, and didn't try to do too much. He just slices it through the 5-6 hole into left field. Well, what an asset if your pitcher can get on base to start an inning. Gives you so many more offensive options to turn to.
That's one of the things you remember, the great Atlanta teams of the 90s, and obviously they had Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz, and all three of them Hall of Famers, phenomenal pitchers. But they could all field their position. They could all move a runner. They could get a bunt down. They could come up with a base hit every now and again. They weren't just pitchers who didn't help themselves in other ways. In the National League, if you've got a guy who can hit like Syndergaard or a guy who can hit like Bumgarner, they're few and far between. But man, does that help you?
Boy, it sure does, and it keeps you in games longer. If you have the ability to put down a bunt or move a base runner, manager's going to stick with you. If you're throwing in a good ball game, tight one way or another, you're going to stay in the ball game because you can handle the bat. Stephen Brault, he's had some hits in the past. He's 5 for 21 for his career over the last 2 seasons.
I remember even Marcus Stroman got a couple of opportunities, right, in interleague games, and to say the least, made the most of them.
He had a pinch hit double in extra innings in St. Louis, and then he hit an opposite field home run in Atlanta. I mean, he can swing the bat. There's nothing. I think you could have Marcus Stroman play center field, and he wouldn't disappoint you.
Played a lot of second base at Duke. 0-2 the count on Bostic, the leadoff hitter. Another ball out of play.
That inside pitch right there is what Arash Madani was talking about, is one of the things that Jay Happ is working on. That two-seam fastball to the glove side, and obviously that means inside the right-handed hitters. And the value of this pitch is that it can tie up a right-handed hitter, and you can get a ground ball. I think Jay Happ's trying to get more ground balls. Traditionally, he's been a fly ball pitcher who works upstairs in the zone a lot. There's another inside fastball, and he gets the foul ball. So now what that does for Jay is down, down, down inside. Bostic is thinking, okay, I got to really focus on down, and then he can go back up to that patented high fastball for the strikeout. Another pitch down and in, a little two-seamer action as Bostic is able to pull it, but he pulls it foul. There's that cutter to the outside, and Russell's really, really upbeat about this 5-man pitching staff. As we mentioned, he had a chance to catch Jaime Garcia against the Phillies a couple days ago, and he was overwhelmed by the movement on Garcia's pitches. Happ has been crisp. Estrada's been great. Stroman was good yesterday, albeit in just 2 innings.
1-2 on the way, and Bostic has popped one up on the infield. And it'll be Diaz, the shortstop, 1 down.
Another good pitch inside, and Happ gets the pop-up. Aaron Sanchez has been terrific. He's made some subtle adjustments in something as simple as his grip on the baseball, and it has really encouraged him about the upcoming season. In my mind, if you can keep these 5 starters together, run them out there every 5th day, the Blue Jays staff is as good as any starting staff in the East.
Red Sox are dealing with a couple of injuries at the back end of their rotation right now, although they don't appear to be long-term things.
That's what everybody says.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, they're just minor injuries, right?
Hoping to get Drew Pomerantz and Eduardo Rodriguez back at some point. Up at the top, some big names, of course, led by Chris Sale. It'll be really interesting to see what kind of a year David Price has for the Red Sox after everything that went on last year.
Yeah, he threw the ball very well against the Blue Jays a couple of days ago, and you know, it's there. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of executing, and he's pitching in a tough atmosphere in Boston.
Dickerson had a double into the left field corner his first time up. I think for a guy like Aaron Sanchez, after what he went through last year, if he could fast forward the season to tomorrow, he would do it. I mean, he is just chomping at the bit to get out there, and looks like, again, as we speculated, he lines up to start the 2nd game. But 4 of the 5 are going to face the Yankees. 4-game series to start the season before the White Sox come to town. Coming in from left field is Granderson, and there to make the catch in fair territory, 2 down.
I think Jay's done a terrific job of executing his pitches in this inning, particularly after the leadoff single to the pitcher. He got Bostic to pop up the short, and he gets Dickerson to pop up to left field. And now, and this is a big thing for me, for a starter in spring training, how you manage your innings. Not so much how many innings you throw or how many pitches you throw. Take advantage of these opportunities which you get when you get runners on base, and now you're facing number 3 hitter in the lineup. See if you can't get out of this inning cleanly.
Number 3 hitter is Starling Marte. Hit a fly ball to center field back in the first. And finds a hole on the left side for a base hit to keep this inning going as Brault moves up to second.
Marte got to that cutter down and in. Another ground ball pulled to the left side, this time by the right-handed hitter Marte. So now Jay's really got a tough assignment with Josh Bell, the cleanup hitter. He got him on a cutter. Called strike 3 his first time up. Let's see how Martin and Happ decide to attack Josh Bell here. Off the end of the bat.
Over Happ, out to Travis, on to first, and a couple of men left on as Happ is through 3 scoreless innings here in his next to last spring training start.
World Series sweatshirt. First 20,000 fans will get one of them when the Royals come to town Wednesday, April 18th. A World Series sweatshirt back-to-back giveaway. BlueJays.com for tickets.
All right, Arash, thank you. Yeah, this is the 25th anniversary season of the second of those 2 World Series, 1993. Back in Dunedin, Dan Schulman and Buck Martinez, and pleased to be joined this half inning by the pitching coach for the Blue Jays, Pete Walker. Pete, thanks for the time today.
Yeah, anytime, guys.
Nobody's going to mess with you now? No sunflower seeds? You're safe?
You better not.
Yeah.
Never know.
Well,
Never know.
Jay Happ looks like, you know, typical rocking chair Jay Happ so far today. What do you see from him?
Yeah, he's sharp. You know, he's really been sharp all spring. Stuff is good right now. Good action on his 2-seam. His sinker's, you know, getting the ball on the ground a little bit. A couple of good splits there as well. The slider's acting as it should. So I think he feels pretty good about where he is right now, and the results are showing it.
Pete, yesterday you had a chance to see Marcus Stroman throw in a game for a first time this spring. What did you think from Marcus's outing?
Yeah, I mean, he's knocking the rust off like everybody else in their first outings. You know, I think it's just good to see him out there. He felt great today, which is huge. You know, that inflammation's gone, so it's just a matter of him pitching, getting comfortable on the mound again, which won't take him long at all. So it was real encouraging to see how he bounced back today, and looking forward to his next outing, which he should be up around that 45-50 pitch mark.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Yeah.
You get him to 45 pitches next time out, and then you add another 20. He should be ready to make a start in that Yankee series, shouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we're hoping. That's what our plan is at this point. Barring any issues along the way, which we don't see. He feels great. His body feels great. We're excited about where he's at right now and expect him to be in that series.
One down here in the bottom of the third. Pete Walker, the pitching coach for the Blue Jays, with us. And Pete, he's been around a while, but for Blue Jays fans who don't know as much as they need to know about Jaime Garcia, what have you liked from what you've seen so far?
He's a pro, tremendous movement, you know, more so than anticipated. Saw video, obviously, I've seen him pitch in the past, but, you know, getting a chance to watch his bullpens and now really studying his pitches, tremendous movement on his two-seamer. His changeup is a wicked pitch as well. So, you know, he's crafty. He knows how to move the ball in and out, pitches in well on right-handers, you know, locates the ball down and away when he needs to as well. Good breaking stuff. So I mean, he's got all the pitches he needs to be successful, and obviously his track record shows it. Shows why. So we're excited to have him. Looking forward to, you know, really watching him pitch this year.
Pete, when you look at the makeup of your five-man rotation, each of the individual starters are unique in the way they attack hitters. How important is that in your mind as a pitching coach to have that much of a diverse rotation that you have this year?
Yeah, you know, Buck, it's great. You know, it's different looks in a 3-game set, 4-game set. You know, you got a different look with every starter. So I think it's great for us. It's definitely something that we'll use to our advantage. You know, they complement each other very well. So you know, it's nice to have. You don't always have that. You know, usually have 2 or 3 guys that might have a lot of similarities, but we really do have a diverse group. Pitch arsenals are all different, and you know, it's you know, hopefully we get these guys on a roll early, and you know, they can compete with each other and feed off each other.
Pete, we'll see Tyler Clippard coming out of the bullpen today. Not his best year last year, but a guy with a track record. What have you seen from him so far?
Yeah, great as well. I mean, really, the veteran guys, all of them, the relievers that are all battling down there. You know, and since Tyler's been in, obviously, you know, we've seen him a lot in the past. He's a tremendous track record as well. You know, last year, I think it was an aberration, and you know, he finished up strong. He feels great this spring. So, you know, he can keep hitters off balance. He's another veteran guy who's closed games, pitched late in high leverage situations. So, you know, we do have quite a few of those guys, which is nice in the bullpen.
We appreciate the time. Looking forward to a good season. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Pete Walker, the pitching coach for the Blue Jays. End of 3 in Dunedin, still scoreless. Happ finished the season very strong last year. Remember, he had the elbow problem in the first half of the season, but his 5 starts in September were terrific, reminiscent really of the kind of year he had in 2016.
Yeah, he really finished up on a strong note. You look at his numbers for those 5 September starts. Opponents hit just .238 against him, and he only allowed 2 home runs in those 5 games. And I think Jay has really developed into a very confident pitcher, as you heard from Rash talk about it earlier.
Jose Osuna grounds out. Donaldson making the play.
When you think back to that final start of the season, it was terrific. He finished up 10 and 11 for the season, but he turned in his best start of the year in his final start against the Red Sox. 4 hits, 9 strikeouts over 7 innings. And he's just rock steady, man. And you know what? Any of the young pitchers, they can go to Jay. They can lean on him for advice. They can talk to him about getting through tough situations. And to me, he's a senior member of this pitching staff, and he's a guy that anybody on that pitching staff, whether it's a minor leaguer or not, can go right to Jay Happ and have a good conversation about pitching in the big leagues.
A good spot in the clubhouse here in Dunedin is towards the back of the second row to the left. You've got Happ and then an empty locker between them, and then you got Marco Estrada. So you got two veteran cerebral guys in Estrada and Happ, always happy to talk pitching and share a word with a teammate. And when Braden Halliday, who we saw yesterday, spent some time with the Blue Jays about 10 days ago, he spent a day with the club. The team put his locker right in between Happ and Estrada, and he spent the day being mentored, if you will, by those two guys. It had to be a great experience for him, and they came away just raving about how nice of a kid Halliday was, and that was before he went out and did what he did yesterday in the game.
Yeah, and you know what? Those are special moments, and I'm sure that Marco and Jay both appreciate the opportunity to get a chance to visit with young Braden, just 17 years old. Through a difficult part of his life for sure.
Elias Diaz, the catcher, fouls one off. Spring is always a time of optimism in baseball. Just about every team feels good about a lot of things, but when you talk to whether it's John Gibbons, Pete Walker, Russell Martin about the pitching staff, now that Stroman appears to be back, and it'll take him a while to get fully up to speed in terms of his endurance and everything. Boy, there, Axford pitching well, Clippard pitching well. I mean, there are a lot of good news stories, a lot of reasons for optimism, it appears, on the pitching staff right now.
And Sun Won Oh, the pitcher they picked up as a free agent who pitched the last 2 years in St. Louis, will hopefully get his visa soon and maybe make his first appearance on Wednesday this week. So that's good news as well. He could really add some depth.
You like his stuff?
Yeah, I do. He certainly had a fall off from his first year. 2016, he was terrific for the Cardinals. Last year, the league might have caught up to him a little bit. I just think his location with his slider was a little bit off. He threw too many in the middle of the plate, but from what I have heard, a couple of side sessions he's thrown down here have gone very well.
Terrific closer 2 years ago for the Cardinals. Spent 9 years in his native Korea pitching, then 2 years in Japan, 2 years with the Cardinals. So this is his 14th season of professional baseball. And an acclaimed closer in Korea and Japan. Some of his new teammates, they love his nickname. He's got two nicknames, actually. One is Stone Buddha, because his facial expression never changes. But the one they really love is the Final Boss. And if you're going to be, now he was a closer at the time that he got that nickname, but some of his teammates just think that's about as good a nickname as a guy who's been a closer can have.
Yeah, he's not really comfortable with the Final Boss now because he's not closing right now. I mean, it's a little bit like the Terminator.
Yeah. He can be the seventh inning boss if he wants to. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Max Moroff, the third baseman today for the Pirates, and another fastball inside to get him back-to-back called third strikes from Happ. In a groove right now as he gets the Pirates in order.
And you can understand why with the games missed over the last couple of years, and those have quietly gone away. But the Blue Jays are going to be smart about it come the regular season. John Gibbons telling us that Travis will likely sit 1 of every 4 games or so, which Devin says He is all for it. He feels that can maximize his season and then, quote, be there when it counts. Travis admits it was crazy tough missing as much time as he has over the last 2 seasons, but what he learned most is to be real with himself. He knows his body well and said it's not about forcing the issue and just playing for the sake of being out there. So it's managing Travis's workload and how the Blue Jays do it. That now becomes one of the stories to watch this season.
Absolutely, Rash. It'll be a developing story, and a lot of it will have to do with how he holds up from day to day, week to week. You might almost see him treated about like Russell Martin is, like when a catcher sits day game after a night game or night game before a day game, however they decide to do it, that maybe if you have that kind of a situation, that's how you get Travis a day or 2 off a week.
Yeah, and I think now the Blue Jays have enough depth up the middle where they can give Devin the time off with Diaz and with Solarte, and now with Danny Espinosa into the mix. Brought almost forgot to get over to first base after Josh Bell, the first baseman, had taken a step toward the ball. He was out of the picture. Brought turned and quickly recovered in time to get to first base to catch the throw. But there was a little bit of a hesitation from the starter. As you can see, he turns around and says, oh, I got to get over there to first. But he's able to get there in time to retire Devin Travis.
A pretty athletic play, actually, reach behind him and come up with the throw as he lost his cap at the same time. Russell Martin comes up for the second time. Hit a fly ball to right field his first time up today.
I think Russell looks great this spring. When you think about Russell playing in just 91 games a year ago, combination of a shoulder issue, he had the oblique strain. This spring, he's been back behind the plate. This is his 11th game. He's hit 3 home runs and driven in 6. But you know what? He looks a little bit more like Russell the Muscle this season. He's put that strength back on. Last year, a little bit too light in my mind, but he feels great this spring. "35 years old now. It's amazing he's been able to compete at such a high level so deep into his career. There are 3 catchers in baseball. When you think about Yadi Molina, Brian McCann, and Russell Martin, they're the leader of the pack in games played and innings caught. And they still put up big numbers.
Well, when you got into your mid-30s, and you know Russell plays as much as anybody, but how did your body respond to catching at 35, 36 years of age?
I never played every day, so it was a totally different story. But Russell's been an everyday player his entire career. But you know, you have to work at it. And I think Russell has found that different approaches work in different seasons. And this year he chose to put on some muscle. But you look at the all-time games played by Canadian-born players. Larry Walker just shy of 2,000 games, and Matt Stairs, Justin Morneau, Terry Poole, and Russell Martin, 1,520 games. A terrific career for Russell. And certainly we've talked often about his pedigree of postseason appearances, and he missed the postseason last year, something he's not very comfortable with.
Martin at first with 1 down. Here's Josh Donaldson. No score, bottom of the 4th between the Pirates and Blue Jays here in Dunedin. Donaldson skies one. A little bit of an adventure here sometimes in a very sunny day, but Bostic is there to make the catch 2 down. I am told that in 1984 you appeared in 102 games. Didn't start 102 games, but appeared in 102 games in that great season that ultimately ended in disappointment for the Blue Jays in the last week of the year. But you're a busy guy.
Yeah, and Ernie Witt and I were the platoon that time, and Bobby Cox used everybody on the team. And I think baseball is trending back toward that now because starters aren't playing as many games as they used to. And that second line of position players, they're going to have to be all-around players. They're going to have to provide some offense. You know, if Russell Martin plays 110 games, I think that would be ideal. And you have somebody behind him that can produce a little offense, give Russell an off day, a complete off day. And here's another guy, I think, in Justin Smoak, who probably wore down a bit last year at the end of the season. He had that career season, but I think that bat got real heavy in August and September. And he was also dealing with a little bit of a knee issue. But Smokey, he's not one to say much about anything.
No. 270, 38 homers, all-star. By far the best year of his career. And I'm sure he'd love to duplicate those numbers, but if he could just approach those numbers, that would still be a big win for the Blue Jays in 2018. Ranging to his left, Alamaze will make the play to force Martin, and that'll be all for the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the fourth. Still no score in this one.
Braden Halliday, the son of the late Roy Halladay, making his Team Canada pitching debut. Mom was happy about it. 3 up, 3 down for Braden, who said, "My #1 coach was my dad." Now, Gare Joyce on Sportsnet.ca, there is a terrific feature about Doc's last season coaching the Clearwater Academy, and it is a must-read if you're a fan of the Blue Jays, if you're a fan of Roy Halladay. On Sportsnet.ca, Gare Joyce's Doc's last season, guys.
All right, Arash, thank you. And of course, on opening day at Rogers Center, when the Yankees are there, there will be a pregame ceremony in memory of Doc Halladay. The Blue Jays already wearing a number 32 patch on their sleeves, as they will all season. So if you're going to the game, and I know many of you watching today are, you're going to want to make sure you get there early enough to witness that. Stephen Alamaze leads off the 5th against Happ in this scoreless game. Jay Happ's given up 3 hits through the first 4 innings, has walked 1, struck out 3.
There's that high fastball. You can see Russell Martin holding the target up top of the strike zone, and that's Jay's bread and butter. He can always do this. He elevates the fastball, and you can see the high target. He gets the foul ball off the bat of the shortstop, Alamaze, and then comes right back for strike 3.
Boy, this looks like mid-season form 2016 Jay Happ right now.
Yeah, Jay had that 20-6 season in 2016. After throwing the high fastball, he throws that fastball on the outside corner, received very well by Russell. But Jay feels very good about everything that's happened to him, going all the way back to the offseason when he started his offseason program, carried it right into the spring.
Pinch hitter now for the Pirates. Lucas Tankus is up. He's batting in the pitcher spot, in Brault's spot. Tankus spent last year in low A ball, playing for West Virginia, one of the farm teams for the Pirates, at 276 and 199 at bats. The Pirates have a couple of 93s today and a couple of 91s. 0-2 and a big swing and a miss. That's 4 consecutive strikeouts now for Happ. Let me ask you something. As a minor league player, you're Lucas Tankus.
Yeah.
How and when do you find out you're going to be one of the minor leaguers who gets asked to go play in a major league game?
In the morning, they'll post a travel squad, and they'll say, okay, you're going to go, and they'll go over to Pirate City. It's a separate complex, much like the Blue Jays complex. They'll go over to Pirate City. They'll take a bus over there, and they'll round up some minor leaguers to provide some depth for this travel squad.
But I would assume that's I mean, if you're a minor leaguer, A-ball kid, 19, 20 years old, I mean, you want this. You're excited for this opportunity.
Absolutely. Right? You get to go to the big leagues, and you get to be around the big league players and coaches, and then there's always the chance you're going to get into the game, just like Lucas Tankus. My son Casey had one of those opportunities when I was managing in 2002. He knocked on my door here in the office, said, "I'm going to go on the road trip." I said, "You are?" He said, "Yeah, they called me over to be some catching depth, and I actually got him to pinch hit."
Nice.
Sent him up to pinch hit for Carlos Delgado, nonetheless.
Here in Dunedin, or road trip, where were you?
Yeah, in Texas, Port Charlotte.
Nice.
Yeah. Pretty cool moment.
Must have been. 2-1 foul to back, 2-2.
But you know, you mentioned 4 strikeouts in a row. That's nothing new for Jay Happ. Back in 2012, he had 6 straight strikeouts against the Texas Rangers. He struck out Adrian Beltre, Michael Young, David Murphy, Giovanni Soto, Craig Gentry, and Mike Holt.
Doesn't look like there will be 5. This ball lifted into right field. Jonathan Davis is there, but nonetheless, 3 up, 3 down innings. 7 in a row now set down by Jay Happ.
Set.
And are in one of the toughest home rinks in the National Hockey League, facing the Golden Knights. That's coming up next on TELUS Flames Hockey on Sportsnet East Ontario and Pacific. Guys.
All right, Arash, thank you. Young, budding Blue Jays fan in attendance here tonight in Dunedin. Great crowd today here on this Sunday afternoon. New pitcher for the Pirates, right-hander Richard Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is 28 years old. Last year, he got into 5 games pitching for the Baltimore Orioles. He was acquired from Baltimore. And he is a guy that has been around, as we mentioned. He's 28 years old. Originally signed with the Astros. Pitched in the minor leagues and never got up to the big leagues until last season in those 5 games with the Orioles.
He'll face the 5, 6, 7 hitters in the Blue Jays lineup, beginning with Kevin Pillar. Lifted a fly ball foul down the right field line, so he's 0 for 1 on the day. Knocks him just under 500 on the spring. Pillar has devoted a lot of energy this spring to hitting the ball up the middle of the diamond. He says, "I'm not worried about homers. I'm not worried about extra base hits." He wants good hard contact up the middle of the diamond, find the alleys, and see what happens. And we, of course, have seen in Pillar's time in Toronto some real hot streaks where he pulls the ball hard, hits home runs, hits doubles, and then some real cold streaks as well. To the middle of the diamond here with some authority, but caught out on the warning track by Marte. Pillar retired, 1 down.
Pillar hit that one well into the big part of the diamond off of the new pitcher, Richard Rodriguez. Marte, we mentioned he's the center fielder. He gets a good jump on this ball. Pillar squares it up and had good sound, and Marte reacted to that, got back to the warning track, and has plenty of room to make the catch. Signed as a shortstop by the Pirates. Moved him to the outfield in the minor leagues, and now he is taken over in center field for them.
And the Pirates will put the shift on now as Kendrys Morales comes up from the left side. He had much better numbers from the right side last year for the Blue Jays. It'll be interesting to see. The Blue Jays are really in the minority right now in terms of American League teams who have a full-time DH. A lot of teams are running a number of different players through there to give them a partial day off. But you would imagine at some point the Blue Jays will want to get Donaldson in there. They could even use Russell Martin, although you don't often use, if you only have 2 catchers, don't often use one of the catchers as a DH. Maybe get Smoak off his feet every now and again. Granderson could wind up with the DH spot sometimes.
Well, you mentioned it. There aren't many prototypical DHs in baseball anymore. The late Don Baylor was the typical. How about Edgar Martinez of the Mariners, Harold Baines, a lot of those guys, they're no longer strictly DHs. Even Albert Pujols is going to have to play first base this year with Shohei Ohtani there, destined to do some DHing.
And David Ortiz may be, you know, one of the last truly great hitters who spent many, many years as a designated hitter.
Yeah, there just aren't many of them around anymore. And, you know, it came in '73, and at the time, there were a lot of aging stars. And I think that had a lot to do with it in the American League. They need to keep some of those stars in the league, and guys like Harmon Killebrew, Orlando Cepeda, Tommy Davis, all those guys were the first core of true DHs.
Morales down on strikes, 2 down.
I know you know, as you're a baseball guy, the first DH.
Ron Blomberg.
Yep, for the Yankees.
73, right?
Yeah.
So you were playing at the time. Must have been when you first heard the American League was going to do that. What was your thought?
Yeah, like, really? Do we need that? And now it's become such a big part of the game. And there's conversation now whether they should go to the DH in both leagues.
Here's Aledmus Diaz, the shortstop for the Blue Jays. Let's talk a little bit about the shortstop position, because we may see later today the newest member of the Blue Jays, Danny Espinosa, who made his Blue Jay debut down in Sarasota against the Orioles yesterday, and all he did was go 4 for 4, play a little second, a little short, and a little third, as John Gibbons moved Espinosa, Jan Hervey, Solarte, and Gifton Gope around the infield. Espinosa's got power. Espinosa's got experience. Espinosa's got a good glove. But there's a lot of swing and a miss in his game. He's hit for a very low average the last couple of years, strikes out a lot. Diaz is a guy who was an all-star 2 years ago, but struggled at times last year and actually spent some time at AAA. Espinosa considered to have a better glove than Diaz.
Danny Espinosa has a cannon for an arm, and he played every day at shortstop in 2016 for the Nationals, made 152 starts at short. And he's the kind of guy that, you know what, if he gets out there and gets some regular ABs, he bounced around last year, 3 teams, Angels, Mariners, and Rays, and really had an inconsistent year because he just didn't have regular at-bats. He was a little bit surprised that he was a platoon player when he went to Anaheim.
Diaz called out on strikes. We're at the end of 5. Beautiful day here in Florida.
One last week of spring training remaining here in Florida, and Blue Jays fans can watch games on MLB.tv. You can watch select spring training games on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply for regular season games. Visit MLB.tv for details. Our last game from Florida, the next spring training game on Sportsnet from Montreal, Monday the 26th, Tuesday the 27th.
Yeah.
Dan?
All right, Arash, thank you. That's a week from tomorrow, a week from Tuesday, and then the opener. Remember, it's coming up fast. A week from Thursday, March 29th, with the New York Yankees in town. Corey Dickerson leads off the 6th inning against Jay Happ. It'll be Dickerson, Marte, and Bell. If they all hit, we can see Marte in the on-deck circle. Happ, 5 shutout innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Next to last start of the spring for Happ. They'll back him off a little bit, as has become the custom for starting pitchers in his last spring start, and then ramp up again for the regular season. And as we mentioned, it looks like he will be the opening day starter. John Gibbons saying they will announce that later today or tomorrow.
The way Jay Happ's pitching, he might want to call timeout and announce it right now.
Get him while he's hot, which he is. There's a breaking ball grounded past the mound, and a good play ranging to his left by Diaz.
Jay Happ has really done a great job this afternoon. 5 strikeouts on the afternoon. 4 of them were looking, as he's been able to get that fastball inside to the right-handed hitters. And they're overmatched. They can't even pull the trigger, and it's a great job. And Rash Madani talked about it in the open, how Jay was really working on that glove side 2-seam fastball, and that's the pitch that was so effective to rack up those 4 called strikeouts.
Here's Marte, 1 for 2, had a base hit his last time up. The Pirates look like they're in a rebuilding stage. We mentioned the trade of Andrew McCutchen, the trade of Garrett Cole. The fan base is unhappy that 2 such important players would be traded, although certainly in the case of McCutchen. Now, he bounced back and had some really good stretches last year, but he's getting a little bit older. Contract is up at the end of this season, and the Pirates decided they had to get some future, some prospects for McCutchen. But the Pirates, if you go back, not last year, not the year before, but prior to that, a playoff team 3 years in a row. 3 years ago, they won 98 games, but just 78 2 years ago, 75 last year. And they look at the Cubs, and they look at the Cardinals, and they look at the Brewers, very interesting team. And the Pirates have made the decision that, you know what, it's time to regroup a little bit. And Buck, they're certainly not the only team that's doing that.
No, it's the way the game has trended, given the finances, that teams that don't have a legitimate chance of contending are trying to save their dollars, and not only financially, but the opportunity to get your young players into the mix and start playing those young players so you can see whether or not they're going to develop into frontline players in the big leagues. You mentioned the Pirates' 3 straight seasons of postseason baseball, 13, 14, and 15, and then it's been a tough stretch. 78 wins in 16, 75 wins last year. So, you know, how good are the Pirates going to be if they had McCutchen and Cole? And here's what the projected lineup is, and I got to tell you, for a team that's rebuilding, this is a pretty good lineup. When you look at Harrison playing second and Dickerson in left field, Marte in center. And then you've got Colin Moran, the young third baseman they acquired from Houston, Jordy Mercer at shortstop, and Cervelli. The key to them, keeping Cervelli healthy. And they've got a good backup in Diaz, who's caught here this afternoon. But that's a pretty representative lineup right there.
Tough division, though. They've got, I mean, legitimately great teams there. You know, Milwaukee went out and made some major moves in the offseason. You know, St. Louis is going to be competitive year in and year out. And I wonder if the Cubs will come into this year just with a little more hunger. Not saying they weren't hungry last year, but won the World Series in 16 and didn't have quite as good a season, obviously, last year. But they look obviously like a formidable team heading into 2018.
And Yu Darvish was great yesterday in the spring training outing.
Marte with a high drive deep left field. Granderson will turn and watch it go. Marte with a home run off Happ here in the 6th inning for the first run of the ball game.
We had just shown you those 4 inside fastballs that were called strike 3s to the Pirates, and Marte, he picked up on that as he was looking inside with 2 strikes, and he turned on it and knocked it out of the ballpark. The first run of the ball game for Marte, the home run. His 3rd home run of the spring, and there's that inside fastball. He opened up his hips, got the barrel to it, and knocks it out of the ballpark.
So 1-0 Pittsburgh here in the 6th inning. One more look at the swing.
No stride with 2 strikes. He's able to get the barrel to it and hits it out of the ballpark. Home run number 3 for Marte this spring.
Now Josh Bell, 0 for 2, strikeout and a ground out.
But veteran hitters, they'll pick up on a pattern. And we showed you those 4 strikeouts, all called strike threes on inside fastballs, and Marte was looking for it.
High in the air towards the right field corner. Pretty well hit, but just shy of the track. Jonathan Davis there to make the catch. 2 down. So Bell retired for the 2nd out of the inning. Davis out in right field. Again, we talked about how a lot of regulars in the lineup for the Blue Jays. If Grichuk's healthy, he's out there. And then you could make a case that this would be the group you would see for the Blue Jays against a left-hander during the regular season.
Yeah, and I think that would be a very good lineup with Diaz at short. Travis, of course, you need him out there. Smoak, Donaldson, they're going to play every day. And Russell Martin will be the starting catcher, of course.
Of course, you could see Steve Pearson left. Granderson might not play every day or a ton against lefties. That remains to be decided by John Gibbons and company.
Opening day, the Yankees are going to run Luis Severino out there to start. He's a right-hander, had a great season last year. Young, hard-throwing righty.
Good test right out of the chute, huh?
Absolutely good test.
4 games worth of a good test.
The Yankees and Blue Jays will play 8 times in April. And, of course, last year the Blue Jays won 8 games in the entire month of April. They've got to get off to a better start or the season could be down the drain early.
Line to left field. Granderson there to make the catch. And Osuna is retired to end the inning. Home run by Starling Marte, though, the first run of the game. 1-0 Pirates going to the bottom of the 6th.
Alford was out on the field in uniform after the announcement of the grade 2 hamstring strain that'll keep him out 3 to 6 weeks. Alford threw and was in the cage this morning, and the return window is how fast he'll heal. He says his rehab is including plenty of deep tissue work. Now, the biggest issue for Alford is going to be patience, try not to overdo it in his work to get back, and to remain, in his word, quote, obedient. He told me he doesn't feel any pain or twinges hitting, but running is the biggest thing, and ultimately it's about going full speed with his mobility without feeling any pain, guys.
Arash, thank you. And of course, Blue Jays would love to get him on the field. Former football player. They're looking to accelerate that development because it feels like Alford's right on the cusp of making the big leagues if he can get healthy. Jordan Milbrath is the new pitcher now for the Pirates.
Jordan Milbrath, a right-hander after Richard Rodriguez went an inning. He had a couple of strikeouts, 3 up, 3 down outing for him. And now Milbrath is on to face Curtis Granderson. 8-9-1 for the Blue Jays here in the 6th.
Granderson grounded out his first time up. Pirates up 1-0 on the Blue Jays. Bottom of the 6th, just one hit for the Blue Jays so far. And that was an infield hit by Devin Travis to lead off the first inning. Granderson certainly looking comfortable in his new surroundings. He's been around a long time. He's played for a number of teams, and he seems to fit in effortlessly and instantly wherever he goes. And the organization raving about his work with the younger players, leadership, and so forth. All the same things you've heard about Granderson his entire career. He did well with the Mets last year for the most part. Played mostly against righties and did well. When he went to the Dodgers toward the end of the season, it did not go as well, and that really hurt his overall numbers on the season. You can see the overall numbers so far in the spring have been terrific for Granderson. But if they can get 400 to 450 plate appearances out of him from the right side, he can hit 20, 25 home runs, and he can draw 60, 70 walks. And if he can play some adequate defense out in the outfield, I think the Blue Jays will be very happy with what they're getting out of him.
He had 26 home runs last season between the Mets.
It's a great play by Bell.
Terrific play by Bell. You know, Josh Bell is a former outfielder. This is just his 3rd season playing first base, and right there he shows you that he has been working hard at that position. I asked him about that. He said, you know, everybody just thinks first base is big, slow-footed slugger over there at first, but there are a lot of things going on, and that play is a great example of it, because you have to determine first off whether or not you should go after the ball or go back to cover the first base bag for the second baseman to make the play. But he made a good decision right there.
Jonathan Davis, the batter, grounded out his first time up. And a fastball pumped in for a strike. Looks like Jay Happ's afternoon has come to a close. Luis Santos is up in the bullpen for the Blue Jays, and we've been told to expect Santos, Clippard, and Osuna today. So Happ's already gone 6. Unofficially 84 pitches on the day.
Terrific outing for Jay Happ. As you see, Santos, who's had a good spring as well, he's loosening up. He'll more than likely be next year for the Blue Jays.
High fly ball to center field, but lots of room out there for Marte. 2 down.
But for Jay Happ to be able to get up and down and go 6 innings, I think that's a big milestone for him. Get his pitch count up into the 80s. So now he'll have another tune-up for sure, maybe one short one at the end before he makes his season debut. But you can see he's getting congratulations for the outing, which normally indicates the end of his day.
Here's Travis, a base hit and a ground out. When Travis is not in there, we've talked about how he'll miss some games. I want to try to keep him fresh and healthy. What have you seen from Yangervis Solarte, who figures to get the backup job at second?
Yeah, Solarte best suited to play second or third, a switch hitter that's more offensive than defensive.
There was so much more great information coming there, and then Devin Travis grounded out to end the inning.
No cooperation.
We'll take it up with him after the game.
For James Harden and the Houston Rockets, they travel to Minnesota to face the Timberwolves. The NBA on Sportsnet 1 tonight at 7 Eastern. The Rockets 21-1 in their last 22 games. Mr. Schulman, some 10 nights ago, their only loss to the Raptors in Toronto.
Who are getting a lot of attention south of the border from everybody right now. The way that the Raptors are playing, pretty exciting stuff. With the playoffs not that far away. We are back here in Dunedin, Florida. 1-0. The Pirates lead the Blue Jays as we go to the top of the 7th. And a guy, Buck, who opened up some eyes late last season, doing it again here in the spring.
This will be his 8th appearance of the spring, and he has worked 7 1/3, 3 hits, 6 strikeouts, and a walk. He's pitched very well this spring.
Meanwhile, a number of changes behind Santos, including the newest member of the Blue Jays, Danny Espinosa. Talked a little bit about him. A well-traveled guy, a lot of years with Washington. Bounced around last year, was released by the Yankees a few days ago and signed with the Blue Jays thereafter. Base hit for Diaz to lead off the 7th.
Espinosa is from Long Beach State. He was one of those long-term shortstops that came out of Long Beach State, along with Longoria, Tulowitzki. They've been a tremendous parade of great shortstops come to the major leagues out of Long Beach State. Danny Espinosa is one of them. He's 30 years old. They turned 31 on the 25th of April, but we mentioned he's had some big seasons. He finished 6th in the Rookie of the Year voting in 2011 while playing in 158 games for the Nationals.
Runner goes, throw down, tag, and not in time. It's a new catcher into the game for the Blue Jays this half inning. Patrick Cantwell trying to throw out the runner, but Diaz in there safely.
Catcher getting a stolen base, and he was pretty excited about it when he got the second base. Diaz picking up the stolen base, his first stolen base of the spring. And he gets a good jump, takes a peek toward home plate, and a hard slide past the tag of Diaz.
Max Moroff, the third baseman, up for the 3rd time. A walk and a strikeout so far. Pirates up 1-0 on the Blue Jays as they bat here in the top of the 7th, out hitting the Jays 5-1.
Moroff is a switch hitter, batting left-handed for the first time. 24 years old. Winter Park, Florida, over in Central Florida. Got into 56 games a year ago with the Pirates.
I asked Russell Martin yesterday what has made Santos so tough to hit since he's become a part of the Blue Jays, since Martin has seen him. And he said there's not one pitch that overwhelms you. It's different pitches, a little deception, locating, and no pattern as well from Santos out of the bullpen. And the numbers may work against him at the beginning of the season, but he helped the Blue Jays late last year. Might have a chance to do it again this year.
He's a lot like Carlos Ramirez, who also came up at the end of the season, and in the same vein as not overpowering, but they don't really see him well. And there's another good example of it right there as he gets the strikeout. His numbers won't really impress you. The radar gun doesn't really register high numbers, but there's some deception in his delivery. And the combination of pitches proved to be very effective for Santos. Here he gets that fastball on the inside part of the plate and gets the strikeout. The Blue Jays look to have a very good team in AAA, especially in their bullpen in AAA.
Alamance, the shortstop, pops one up on the right side, and Espinosa will get a play. Well, when you signed with a team in the middle of March, you want to get every at bat, every inning that you can get to try to show them that you're worth keeping around.
Yeah, and Danny Espinosa had some at bats with the Yankees. He got into 12 games with New York and had 25 at bats, and he was home for a while, sitting waiting for the phone to ring after he was designated for assignment. And having gone through that myself, it's a very anxious time. And he said it happened to him last year as he moved from Anaheim to Seattle to Tampa Bay. 3 different transactions during the course of the summer.
So 2 down and a runner at second. Here's Jared Oliva, who came on a half inning ago out in right field. A lot of changes right now, and a lot of guys in the 90s starting to make their appearance, especially on the Pirates side of the field. Pirates making the trip north from Bradenton, just over an hour away, really, to come up here to Dunedin.
Pirates will be here next Sunday for the final game of the spring here in Dunedin. Now will be the last team the Blue Jays play in Florida this spring.
Into left field. And the catch is made out there. That is Andrew Guillat who makes the catch for the third out. 7th inning stretch in Dunedin, 1-0 Pirates.
Okay, fans, it's time for the
shed, and Buck, again, he did not disappoint.
Not at all. This is his first at bat against Ben Abram, and he hit a home run down the left field line, a 2-run home run, and then with 2 strikes, he gets a base hit up the middle. He would finish up with 4 RBIs on the afternoon, and he did not disappoint in any regard. Another 2-strike base hit up the middle. He played some good defense, and the one thing that really jumped out for me, having not seen him play an awful lot, is the fact that he ran a 4.96 to first base in his final at bat of the game. And he is a good-looking young prospect. You talk about the pipeline for prospects in 2018. Shohei Ohtani, of course, the young Japanese player, just 23 years old. And how about Ronald Acuna Jr.? He got another base hit today. He had a home run yesterday and just missed a second home run in that game. Vladdy Guerrero Jimenez of the White Sox, he has really gotten a lot of attention out in Arizona. And then Bo Bichette, of course. Here's a former Blue Jay farmhand, John Stilson, last year between AA and AAA. A 3.19 earned run average. Stilson was drafted by the Blue Jays and pitched several years in their minor league system.
And we've got all kinds of changes for both teams right now. Try to keep you updated as much as we can. We can tell you for sure that Danny Espinosa is going to lead off the bottom half of the 7th for the Blue Jays. We mentioned he went 4 for 4 down in Sarasota against the Orioles yesterday, playing some second, some short, some third. Buck mentioned he had a good rookie year back in 2011 for Washington. He is just a career .221 hitter. A lot of power, a lot of strikeouts. Last year spent time with 3 different teams, the Angels, the Mariners, and the Rays. And in about a half season's worth of at-bats, he hit just 173. Can he find it again to get the contact and the batting average up there enough as he shatters the bat, where the power and the defense make it worthwhile to put up with some of the holes in his game?
Yeah, he's a strong defensive player with a very strong arm, and he has played all 3 infield positions, third, short, and second base. And for his career, he has moved over the diamond. We mentioned he played every day in 2016 at shortstop for the Washington Nationals and had a terrific season with the bat. That year in Washington, he had 24 home runs and drove in 72 runs, but hit just 209 and struck out 174 times. So with the power, you get some strikeouts.
That was the violin you heard. I was playing the middle.
Also a guy known, you think Jose Bautista could grow a beard quickly? Danny Espinosa can put him to shame. Danny Espinosa can grow a beard during a game, it looks like. There's Gifton Gope in the on-deck circle, and the acquisition of Espinosa, Buck, may impact Ngope. If you try to put the pieces together, Troy Tulowitzki's out, and it doesn't appear to be that he's coming back anytime soon, although we don't know. He did hit today, but until he's back, you just don't know what the situation is with the bone spur in his heel. So. And Ngope looked like he might stick as the 25th man as a utility infielder. Terrific glove, doesn't hit a whole lot. But does the acquisition of Espinosa say that the Blue Jays maybe don't feel Ngope's got enough of a bat to stick in the big leagues?
Yeah, and I don't know if it had as much to do with Ngope's bat as it did in the availability of Danny Espinosa.
A drive to deep right center field, but caught by Oliva ranging into the alley. So you're just saying, you know, there's no harm in taking a look and seeing what you have.
Exactly. He was let go by the Yankees, DFA'd, and they said, you know what, let's take a chance. And I think you're going to see more and more teams do that in the next 10 days as players become available. That's off the end of the bat. It didn't really square it up. So it hung up in time for Jared Oliva to run under and make the catch. But Stilson had the movement just enough to take it off the barrel, and he hit it off the end of the bat.
So with the one down, here's Ngope. He is 5 for 29 with the Blue Jays this spring. Shows Bunton takes a strike. With the Pirates last year, hit .222, 12 for 54. And struck out 26 times. So there's not a lot of, at the major league level anyways, not a lot of real success with the bat for Ngope. But you talk to any coach the Blue Jays have about the glove, and they love it. At AAA last year, Indianapolis, Ngope hit .220. With the Pirates last year, that was the first time that he appeared in the majors. 1-1 up and away, 2 balls and a strike.
Of course, he has the distinction of being the first player in Major League history to be born in South Africa. He was born in Petersburg, South Africa. Played high school baseball at Rand Park in Randburg, South Africa. A terrific young man. Boy, he's interesting to talk to about his rise through the minor leagues.
Interesting story. His mom was kind of the caretaker for a baseball field in South Africa, so he was always around as a little kid, and you know, would get to go out and take ground balls and just always around baseball, which is obviously not as big a sport there as it is in many other parts of the world. And that's how he grew into the game, and eventually was discovered at a tryout camp. I believe it was in Italy, I think, where he was discovered. Got jammed a bit, but he's going to flare it into left field, a base hit.
Ngope had a couple of hits against the Phillies the other day, including an RBI double. Actually, a 2-run double. And got a little smile on his face. That time he got beat by the fastball, but gets enough of it to flare it into left field. You can see he was down near the handle of the bat, but he fights it off and dumps it in front of the left fielder. So he gets a hit in his first AB today.
So he's at first with the one down. Justin Smoak still in the game, the first baseman for the Blue Jays, 0 for 2. Big shift on, as is often the case when Smoak comes up. Just one infielder on the left side of the diamond for the Pirates. And the fastball misses just outside, ball 1.
Smoak last spring here in Dunedin hit 1 home run, drove in 4 runs, and for the spring hit .226. And he's one of those guys that takes a little bit longer for his swing to come around. In fact, he was not the opening day first baseman for the Blue Jays last year. And Smoak is quick to bring it up. He was the starting first baseman at the All-Star game, but he wasn't good enough to start opening day. Steve Pearce started at first base. But Smokey had a career season for sure. So I wouldn't be alarmed by his numbers this spring when you go back and look at what he did last spring, and then he put up the 38 home runs during the regular season. Smokey hitting .222 at the start of play today. No home runs in 3 ribbies.
Did you find much correlation between how you did in the spring and how you did in the season?
Yes. I didn't hit either time.
Now, come on. That was a serious question. I know you're self-deprecating, but...
You know what? You know, I never worried about how I hit in the spring. I just had to make sure I could catch and throw. You know, but we played a lot more. When I was in the major leagues in spring training, you'd play 7, 8, 9 innings a game. You just get in there and get as many at-bats as you could. And of course, you wanted to really know the pitchers, so you caught everybody. But I think we had more at-bats in spring training than they get traditionally now. But as we've heard from Donaldson, you know, a lot of players feel this way, that spring training is overrated. They do so much work in the cage. They do so much video work that they can accomplish getting ready for the season without playing in a lot of spring training games.
Pitchers don't throw as many innings in spring training as they used to.
No, not at all. There's home run number 1.
So you're saying there's nothing to worry about? No doubter for Justin Smoak.
I don't care who you are. It's always good to get one in the home run column, and Smokey circled the bases 38 times a year ago. His first time this spring, and he has given the Blue Jays the lead here in the 7th. Boy, that was great sound, wasn't it? And that's what hitters love to hear, that crisp crack of the bat when they square it up.
Right fielder number 81.
Brooke Jacoby, the hitting coach, knows that it takes Smoak a while to get going. Just one of those guys that just needs a lot of at-bats and needs repetition before he squared that one up.
Here's DJ Davis getting his first at-bat. Came on last inning. One more look at a ball that was clearly gone from the moment it left the bat.
Boy, that's a good sign to see Smoak jogging around the bases once again. Just the 3rd hit for the Blue Jays, but now they have the lead.
DJ Davis, former first-round pick back in 2012 from Wiggins, Mississippi, spent last year here in Dunedin in this ballpark and hit .258 with a couple of home runs. He's got some speed, 32 stolen bases. We were talking about it around the cage today. And more as you look down into the minors, you see the Blue Jays having a lot of outfielders, primarily outfielders, who have some speed. Ramon Fields is a guy the Blue Jays like a lot. Obviously Alford and Pompey, if they can get healthy. Those are two guys that have some speed as well. And the trend in the sport and in the organization, it looks like, is towards more athleticism, more speed, more versatility. Swing and a miss, though, as Davis is overpowered, 2 down.
Yeah, I think they like the athleticism of these younger players, that they can use their speed on defense, certainly use their speed when they get on base to put pressure on the opposing defense. Create problems for the infielders. When they know a guy can run, they're going to hurry their throw, rush themselves, and maybe make some mistakes.
Kendrys Morales gets a 3rd at bat. He has struck out in each of his first 2. The Blue Jays now leading this game 2-1 in the bottom of the 7th on the strength of a home run from Justin Smoak.
Morales is getting nothing but a steady diet of off-speed pitches, and everybody has known now that if you can throw him something other than a fastball, you've got a better chance of trying to retire him. He's gotten a steady diet of breaking balls, especially batting as a left-handed hitter. There's a rare fastball, but he's ahead of it and fouls it out. A year ago, Morales with 28 homers and 85 RBIs, and he was disappointed in his first season with the Blue Jays. And as a result of that, he did a lot of work in the offseason, dropped about 15 pounds. He looks to be in great shape. He's played at first base several games this spring. And that might be something the Blue Jays would want to do early in the spring. Use him at first base, give Smoak a few opportunities as the DH early on to try to keep him fresh longer, deeper into the season.
2nd year of a 3-year deal for Morales. 0-2 pitch, check swing, ball 1. Ground ball hit right into the shift, and from the outfield grass, Morales will be retired to end the inning. Blue Jays, though, get a couple and a long, loud home run off the bat of Justin Smoak. And at the end of 7, the Blue Jays now have a 2-1 lead.
All right, fans, it's time to draw the winning 50-50
here in Dunedin, and a little bit early, but Roberto Osuna is going to come into the game to work the 8th when we come back.
It's going to be
Blue Jay closer Roberto Osuna.
Osuna's had a good spring, as you see his numbers. Just 5 innings. He's given up 5 hits, but he has struck out 5 and hasn't walked a batter. I've talked to Russell Martin about Osuna's spring, and he said, man, he is something else. Just 23 years old, and he has the ability to master a pitch in very short order. He came up as a fastball changeup guy. He has now added a slider and the cutter. And Russell was really complimentary about Osuna's ability to learn these extra pitches, and he's always tinkering, always wanting to get better. And he asks everybody about his pitches, the quality of the pitches, and he can make adjustments very quickly.
And while we watch Osuna, we'd also like to welcome in Justin Smoak, the Blue Jays All-Star first baseman from a year ago. Justin, Dan Shulman, Buck Martinez, thanks for joining us. How did that ball feel off the bat for you?
Yeah, it felt good. Finally, I've been getting jammed all day.
That one had some good sound, Smokey.
Yeah, it did. Finally, like I said.
I mean, in all honesty, I mean, you know what you've done, what you're capable of. Is there a little frustration in spring? Do you look at the process or do you look at the results in spring training?
It's all about the process. I feel like every day is that way. You know, spring training last year for me, if you would have went on my spring training, you thought I wasn't going to make the team. So, yeah, it's just something, you know, try to get some reps in, get your bats, get your legs underneath you, and, you know, get going here in about a week or so.
When people would ask you last year to reflect on the season you had, you don't like to talk about yourself very much, and you said, you know, I might do that in the offseason. In the offseason at all, did you sit back and kind of take stock of your best season in the big leagues?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I feel like you take 3 weeks to a month off and you get right back into working out and doing stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, I finally get a chance to sit back and kind of enjoy it a little bit. It was try to keep my head down the whole year and just keep going. Don't think about, you know, everything that I was doing at the time. And I feel like for me that approach worked for me.
Smokey, obviously a career season with 38 homers and 90 RBIs, and you know, you and I talked about it in the second half of the season. You kind of wore down a little bit. What might you do to address that this season?
Just be smarter. I think, you know, at times, you know, I just, you know, second half of the year, it's not just me, it's everybody, and you know, it's just trying to do the little things you need to do day in and day out to take care of your body, and you know, that's something that I did a little bit of this all season to try to get that going, and got to keep it up throughout the year.
When you look at this team, and everybody wants to discount what the Blue Jays can do given the Yankees and the Red Sox in the division, but give us the position player perspective of your starting rotation.
Starting rotations should be really good, like it always has been. I feel like if we can stay healthy, good things are going to happen for our team as a whole, pitching wise and position player wise, and that's always the goal. And you know, I mean, we've got probably one of the best starting staffs in the league if, you know, those guys can stay healthy.
Kevin Kramer with a triple, despite the best efforts from Jonathan Davis out in center field. Let's take one more look at this effort out of deep center, just off the edge of the glove.
The left fielder, number 90.
With Justin Smoak here in Dunedin. Justin, you've had a chance to see a little bit more of Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette this spring. What are your impressions of them?
Yeah, great players. You know, I personally haven't seen them that much. I haven't got a chance to really see them play yet, but you know, seeing highlights and stuff like that, they look like really good players, and I think it's something the Blue Jays have something to be excited about.
Spring is for optimism. Just about every team goes into the spring feeling good about things. What makes you feel optimistic going into this year about the Blue Jays' chances?
If we can stay healthy. I mean, I feel like it might have been a different year for us last year. I feel like from spring training throughout the whole year last year, we just didn't have our whole team intact the whole year. And you know, this spring training we've been doing a better job of that. And I feel like if we can stay intact as a team all year long, yeah, you're going to lose a guy here and there, but you don't want to lose multiple guys.
Pirates tying it on a sac fly here in the 8th inning.
What does it tell you as a player when you see Ross Atkins continually try to improve this ball club, and most recently by signing Danny Espinosa, a big leaguer for sure, that's got some extra pop? How does that encourage you that the front office is going to do whatever they can to try to win this thing?
Well, I think that's the plan. I mean, we have the same team really that we've had the last 3 years, and so you know, if we can go out there and do what we're capable of doing, we got a chance to win a lot of ball games, and that's honestly our goal.
All right, last question. Saturday, March 31st, third game of the season, Justin Smoak bobblehead day. Did you approve this? Have you seen it? Does it look like you? Where are we at on this?
Probably the best beard I'll ever have.
You're happy with how it turned out, though?
Yeah, it's
it
fine.
flatters you?
It's
All right.
fine. I'll be honest with you, I can't wait till it's over.
That answer's not a surprise. Thanks, Justin. Have a great season.
All right, thank you.
Justin Smoak, all-star first baseman for the Blue Jays. I don't think that Justin Smoak marched into the Blue Jays offices in the offseason and said, I demand a bobblehead day. That's not the Justin Smoak way.
Certainly not his makeup for sure. And he just doesn't care to talk about himself.
Yeah.
He likes to play baseball. If he's not playing baseball, he likes to hunt and fish, and that's about it.
Here's Brian Reynolds. Pirates have tied it at 2 here in the 8th inning on a triple and a sac fly. And there is out number 2 as Osuna picks up a strikeout.
Osuna, obviously, the closer of the Blue Jays, and oftentimes you'll see him working in games, and even during the regular season when there's not a save opportunity, not as sharp as they normally would be, but he finishes off that at bat with a pretty good fastball.
2 down and the base is empty. This is Will Craig, the first baseman. First pitch swinging, ground ball in the hole at short, and a long throw right on the money to retire him, and the Pirates will go bottom 8, tied at 2. A 3-1 solution that rescues your lawn. And the play of the game in this game today, first spring training home run this year for Justin Smoak.
1 out, a man on, and Smokey squares up the pitch from John Stilson. It's a deep over the wall in right field. His first home run of the season, the 27th home run the Blue Jays have hit this spring. And that's home run number 1, play of the game for the Blue Jays this afternoon.
New pitcher on for Pittsburgh here in a tie game going to the bottom of the 8th. It is right-hander Casey Sadler, who spent a little bit of time with the Pirates in the big leagues in 2014 and 2015. Trying to make his way back to the big leagues. Last year, it was some time at AA and some time at AAA, both as a starter and a reliever. As Aledmus Diaz pulverizes one down the left field line, but it is well fouled. Diaz getting a chance to get a third at bat here in the bottom of the 8th inning.
Diaz hit 17 home runs 2 years ago for the Cardinals. He's got some pop in his bat out in front of that first pitch, and he knew he got ahead of it, pulls it foul out of the ballpark against Casey Sadler. Sadler's 27 years old, had Tommy John surgery and missed the entire 2016 season.
At this point, you would still have to think that Aledmus Diaz is the most likely guy to be the shortstop for the Blue Jays on opening day. As we've talked about, they just brought in Danny Espinosa. Troy Tulowitzki's not going to be ready for opening day. They've got Gifton Gope, but it looks like Diaz at this point would still be the guy. I asked him, has he played second or third, or has it always been short? He said when he got sent down to the minors last year by the Cardinals, as he's called out on strikes, he asked them to let him play some second and third. He wanted to be more versatile. and more valuable. And he just had a game or two here, a game or two there. By and large, he's a shortstop who is considered adequate defensively at the major league level. And the Blue Jays, Buck, when you look at their starting rotation, they got a lot of ground ball guys. They're going to need to have good infield defense.
Yeah, a lot of ground ball pitchers with Sanchez and Stroman, and even Jay Happ's getting a few more ground balls, and Jaime Garcia is a ground ball machine. So that infield defense is going to be very important for the Blue Jays.
Andrew Guillotte is the batter right now, one of the minor leaguers who's come over to play in this game today for the Blue Jays. 24 years of age, from Moss Bluff, Louisiana, 32nd round pick back in 2015. Spent last year at both single A Dunedin right here and double A New Hampshire. And also a little bit of time up in Buffalo. Overall hit .267, 5 homers, stole 22 bases.
Guillotte's playing in his 10th game this spring. He has not been in camp, but he has been called over several times to come over and add some depth to the Blue Jays roster during these spring games, and he's gotten a lot of opportunities.
We were talking, you and I talking around the cage with Jason Leblebijian before the game. He's gotten a ton of opportunities. Rowdy Tellez has not been with the team recently, and Leblebijian has some versatility on the infield, and you see his name on the scorecard just about every day.
He leads the team in at-bats coming into this game. 38 at-bats for Jason. He's played in 19 games, and I don't think that was the plan, but then Rowdy Tellez had to be away from the team so long and has since been sent to the minor leagues that Leblebijian's had a lot of ups.
Jonathan Davis up again. Started the game in right. Now in center, he's 0 for 2 and a ground out and a fly ball. Well hit ball left field. And off the wall on a bounce. Guillotte around to third. He will be held there on a ringing double for Jonathan Davis.
For Davis, that's his first or second double of the season. He's also hit a home run this spring. That's his 7th hit as he hammers this ball over the head of the left fielder all the way up to the base of the wall.
So the Blue Jays with something brewing here in the bottom of the 8th. 2-2 tie. And after that double, they've got runners at second and third with 1 out. And meanwhile, some activity in the Blue Jays bullpen. The last guy we were told that we were going to see today is right-hander Tyler Clippard, another guy with a good track record in the major leagues, another guy trying to bounce back from a tough year last year. In camp as a non-roster player, so not on the 40-man roster. So like John Axford, for example, if he were to make the team, somebody would have to come off the 40-man, but Clippard has impressed his new organization so far.
Yes, he sure has. He's a veteran. He's had closing experience. Same for John Axford. And boy, you can add some veterans like that. And O as well. O has been the closer a couple of seasons with the Cardinals, and they could have some real experience down in their bullpen.
This is Patrick Cantwell, minor league catcher in the Blue Jays organization. They picked him up in a deal with Texas last year. 3rd round pick back in 2012 by the Rangers. Infield is in for the Pirates, of course, in a tie game, bottom 8. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. And that's exactly what Cantwell was trying to do. Just put something in play and see what happens. Not only does something happen, he's going to drive in a couple of runs.
Well, that drawn in infield, the chopper off the dirt in front of home plate. Cantwell picks up 2 RBIs, and Guillotte scores easily from third, but Jonathan Davis, man, what a burst of speed he had around third base. Scores easily from second on this infield base hit. Sinking fastball beat off the ground, and that's going to go into left field. Hanwell just puts the bat on the ball, bounces it over the drawn-in infield, and Guillat scores. And then right behind him, Jonathan Davis was flying around third base and came in to score easily.
So the Blue Jays take the lead back here in the bottom of the 8th. Got a runner at second, one down. Second at bat now with the afternoon for Danny Espinosa. The fly ball to right center his first time up. It's an interesting time for 30, 31, 32-year-old players who have been around the majors but maybe coming off a rough year. Teams are more likely to look at a young kid, somebody they can probably pay less to. And a lot of guys still out there on the market. Espinosa with a base hit into center field. Cantwell had to wait to see if it would get through. It does. He'll still score. And Espinosa's 5 for 6 in a couple of days now with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, he's done a terrific job putting the bat on the ball. He's a veteran hitter. And just stayed on that sinking fastball and drives it up the middle for an RBI base hit. Boy, another switch hitter added to the potential lineup for the Blue Jays is a real asset. Cantwell comes around third and scores in a big 3-run inning for the Blue Jays here in the 8th. But when you think about switch hitters, Solarte's a switch hitter, Smoak's a switch hitter, Morales, and now you add Danny Espinosa to the mix. You know, we always talked about that with the Yankees when they were in their prime. They had switch hitters up and down the order. It makes it so difficult for opposing managers.
The Cleveland Indians had more at-bats by switch hitters last year than any other team, and you were there for all the games the Blue Jays played against the Indians. How tough did that lineup look?
Yeah, and it's such a difficult thing when you try to match up your bullpen against their team when you've got switch hitters in the lineup and you say, well, should I turn him around? And then the other guy's better right-handed, especially with a guy like Encarnacion in the middle of that batting order.
Big jump, so big that he had to stop, but then Espinosa accelerates around second. His gift into Gope. Flares one into right field, a base hit. It was a little odd looking, but it turned out well for the Blue Jays.
And Ngope is 2 for 2. It was odd looking, but they're playing a little bit of hit and run now late in the game, just checking to see what Espinosa is capable of doing. But he gets such a big jump at first, he has to stop, and then he says, okay, I better go. I'm out in no man's land. Then Ngope fights it off and flares it into right field for his second hit of the afternoon. All the while, Danny Espinosa goes first to third.
Well, the Blue Jays piling on here in the bottom of the 8th inning, now up 5-2. Runners at the corners, one out, and this is Emilio Guerrero. Big lanky first baseman, 6'4", 189, 25 years of age, from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic. And a broken bat, slow roller to short to second, one on to first in time to end the inning. But it's a productive one for the Blue Jays. They score 3 runs, lead 5-2. Clippard coming on for the 9th. Of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership that may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays baseball partnership. Beautiful day, big crowd. Our last spring training telecast from Dunedin. The next two will be the two games up in Montreal next week against the Cardinals, but enjoyed bringing you the games, enjoyed seeing all the Canadians down here in Florida as they look on and watch Tyler Clippard trying to wrap it up now in the 9th inning.
It's his 4th game of the spring, and Clippard is a local guy. He grew up in Newport Richey, Florida. It's about 10 miles north of here.
And a play for the new third baseman right off the bat, no pun intended. Nash Knight makes the play. 1 pitch, 1 out here in the 9th inning.
So Clippard, we mentioned the depth the Blue Jays have added to their potential bullpen. A lot of veterans down there. Clippard, Axford, Al Albuquerque's had a good spring. So Sonhwa Oh, who is not yet eligible to pitch. He's waiting on getting his visa, and hopefully by Tuesday he'll throw a side session and get into a game on Wednesday. That's the plan as we speak.
There's Ryan Lavarnway getting an at bat. Well, you think about if O's obviously going to be there. If Clippard and Axford to make the team, how much more experienced the bullpen is than it's been the last couple.
Yeah,
of years.
absolutely. I mean, your closer's 23, and then you've got guys in their 30s that are veteran pitchers. They have closed in the past, and you just can't have too many of those guys down in the bullpen. Just think about the impact that LaTroy Hawkins had on the Blue Jays a couple of years ago when they picked him up from Colorado. A veteran that had had many roles in the bullpen, and when you have guys like Tyler Clippard and John Axford down there, they certainly can help out when guys run into tough streaks, and they've all been through it, and the experience of those veteran relievers could be valuable.
Clippard known for his changeup, and that was it right there. He'll throw it in any count to both righties and lefties. A lot of righties only throw their changeup to lefties, but he'll throw it all the time, and when it's on, it's one of those changeups that's good enough to know it's coming, and you still can't do anything with it.
Much like Marco Estrada, Clippard's been an all-star twice in his career. He had 32 saves for the Nationals in 2012. He was an all-star in 11 for the Nationals, again in 14. But he has had 61 career saves. Last year, he split time between the Yankees, the White Sox, and the Astros.
High fastball, swing and a miss, and a full count on Lavarnway.
That's one thing I think Pete Walker and Dane Johnson have asked Clippard to do a little more frequently. Trust that fastball. Use that fastball to elevate the pitch from time to time, and then you can really set up the effectiveness of that changeup.
Emilio Guerrero giving chase down the line, but won't get there in time, beyond his reach.
That was another fastball at 90 miles an hour. Clippard's got a decent fastball, but he's always had so much success with his changeup that he had a tendency, whenever he got in a tight spot, to go right to it. He may have come a little bit too predictable lately, but now I think, given where he's at in his career, I think he is open for any kind of suggestions. He just turned 33 in February.
So some new arms for Pete Walker to have a look at this spring. 3-2. Change up, hit in the air, right center field. And a lazy fly ball for out number 2.
Well, we heard Pete Walker talk about the diversity in his rotation. I think he has the same feel about the arms he has down in his bullpen. You got Osuna, who throws in the mid-90s with a assortment of pitches. Ryan Tepera developed into a terrific setup man last year. Aaron Loop's throwing the ball very well. Clippard asking his catcher, Patrick Cantwell, where that last pitch was, whether or not it was far enough away. But then you have John Axford, who's thrown 97 this spring with a good sinking fastball. A lot of different looks out of that bullpen.
Alfredo Reyes, the batter, little chopper out in front of the plate, and that's your ball game. A very good inning for Clippard to finish it off. And the Blue Jays pick up the win this afternoon over the Pirates 5-2. Justin Smoak homers. Jay Happ, a terrific 6 innings. Couple of good signs here today.
Absolutely. When you have your starter, Jay Happ, go 6 innings and really breeze through the outing and give up a home run to starting Marte, but I don't think anybody's concerned about that. Happ had good command both sides of the plate. At one point, he had 4 straight strikeouts in the 4th and 5th inning. Overall, he finished with 5 strikeouts on the day, 4 of those called strikeouts. Osuna had an inning of work. Clifford finished up with an impressive 9th inning, and you got to look at Smoak's long home run. That's a good sign for the Blue Jays.
So the Blue Jays just about heading into the final week of spring training. Our final telecast here from Dunedin. A couple more coming your way, as we mentioned, from Montreal, as they will take on the Cardinals a week from tomorrow and Tuesday. And then, of course, opening day is only 11 days away. Here it comes. Cards and Blue Jays next week. Yankees and Blue Jays on opening day. For Buck Martinez, Arash Madani, and our crew, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks for watching.